So, how do you keep your friends and family from thinking you're completely crazy if you're on the path to awakening, if you've had an awakening, or if you've just become really interested in spirituality and non duality? So, you have to understand that while the entire world is awakening as one, it's still kind of a rare thing to understand non-duality, and there's a lot of truths that are very offensive to people and are very challenging for people to understand that people aren't ready yet. You also have to understand that when we realize these truths, it unlocks this type of bliss or joy in ourselves, and we want to share it with everybody. And sometimes we aren't very realistic about how people are going to react when we share things with them. So, I think we all could go back in our lives, say we could go back in our lives and do things better. I know there's plenty of opportunities when I have shared things that I shouldn't have shared or just had a certain attitude about things that I really wish I hadn't had. And a little bit of that is necessary, but hopefully we can limit the damage by educating ourselves. And I'm just going to tell you maybe some of my experiences. I don't really want to share them, but maybe I will. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. Anyway, so when I first started reading The Power of Now, I expected my friends and everyone to get the same reaction from it that I did, and I was disappointed when they didn't. And so just understand that something can really be the key and really be the thing that you've been looking for and ready for, and it can unlock something. But understand that everybody isn't going to react the same way. And so I do really recommend giving away or recommending books to people, but we also want to understand where people are at, and completely don't get offended if they don't resonate with the book. You're going to be a little bit disappointed because you want somebody close to you to share things with you, and you want them to be passionate about them as you are. But in reality, that's not always the way it works. And just like the first settlers that came to the US had a hard time learning how to survive in a new climate, and without any sort of infrastructure or anything in place for them to support their colonies there, it was really hard. Um, and so if you are sort of an island among people who aren't really open-minded to spirituality, don't understand non-duality, then reaching out, we have the internet, we have networks of people. There are online forums about spiritual topics, all sorts of brands and flavors of spirituality. There's Gnostic Christians, there's all kinds of Facebook groups, there's all kinds of them. Join them, at least you'll have the support online. And if you can join a Reiki group, maybe certain types of yoga classes, if you live in a city, if you have that benefit, go do that and try to make friends who you can talk about anything with, because it's really a joy, and that's what we all want. But we have to understand that we can't force the family members we have and the friends in our life to understand everything that we understand and to be excited about the things that we're excited about. And so, building your network of friends is important. And so when it comes to family members, when it comes to parents, you have to remember that there's conditioning from long, long ago. And so often we get really upset with ourselves when we go around all week and we seem so woke, and not a thought goes by that bothers us, no judgmental thoughts whatsoever. And then we see one of our siblings or parents, and suddenly we're like a 3-year-old child again, or worse. And you can see that the ego is a fiction when you study relationships and you study patterns like that. And you know, when you're around your parents, or if you see someone else around their parents and they become this completely different person, often a very like low childish version of themselves. If you've ever dated someone and had to spend a I've never done this. This is not my personal experience. I don't know who you're talking about, and they just revert to a child. We all have those patterns. And so recognize that and use that as a pointer to help you awaken. So for example, my sister, growing up, she was always very positive and later on quite loving. And so I was always just this complete, total, cynical, negative asshole around her. And I knew, like, as soon as we were apart, then I would be, you know, much more balanced human being. But she just brought that out in myself. And so when you see imbalances in people, we often try to be the devil's advocate, or like we physically become like the opposite to try to correct them. We have that. And so as we awaken, we're trying to find more conscious ways without getting really caught up in trying to correct them or trying to be the opposite, or letting them turn us into letting their unconsciousness cause us to have our own type of unconsciousness over here. And so we're trying to watch this happen, and we're trying to be a more like level ground of space and bring more space into things. And so it's not too hard. There's a lot of potential when you first start having awakenings, having realizations here or there, having epiphanies, reading books, discovering certain teachers. And there can be the disappointment of not being able to share it with people. And but if you really have a strong awakening experience, you have to understand that can throw your entire emotional and judgment system out of whack. And you can end up being very brave and saying things and it feels completely right on. But the ego still has, when we have a no self experience, almost always, unless in rare cases, the ego comes back and smacks us upside the head like a boomerang, except we don't know what hit us and we're just off running. So if you have not had an awakening and you're listening to this, be careful and just know what to expect, because a lot of us did not, and a lot of us ended up saying really stupid things, and you could end relationships or lose friendships if you're not careful enough. I was really lucky. I have this friend, and she's like a sister to me. Like literally, we're really, really close. And we actually went a year without talking not too long ago. This like strange events happened, and it was just last winter. It took a while to really get the friendship back to the level it was at. And so I just was completely open with her about the awakening and everything. And I knew, like I was just saying, it felt okay. And she really came along with it fine. I think I worried her and I concerned her a lot, but everything turned out okay. And so just try to understand that we like to think of ourselves as such well-regulated people. And when you go on a journey to awakening, you're kind of letting go of that kind of control. And we see that type of control in our life as what's holding us back. We're afraid to be somebody we're not. And I have not had to do psychedelics on my path, but this is where a lot of the fear of psychedelics and spirituality comes from, is we're afraid of that loss of control. And and that's one of the reasons we're not really studying them as a tool to help people with mental illnesses or to help them with serious drug addictions that are tearing apart our country. We have dualistically decided that drugs are bad, and so we don't think that maybe the right kinds could help for certain things. And even though we already have a drug industry, we've decided that drugs that alter our consciousness are bad because we think that our reality is real. And when you get into spirituality and non-duality, what you're doing is realizing that reality is a complete illusion, that you're stuck in the matrix, and so you're trying to break it. And so these different experiences, different types of breathing and yoga, and just really looking at things and being present with things and opening and the law of attraction, there's so many ways to see through reality, to see the glitches in reality. You start seeing signs and symbols and synchronicity. There's so many paths to this. But most people are just so stuck in the paradigm that that is threatening, that is wrong, that you're crazy, you're going off the edge, you're losing your grip on reality, and you're losing a grip on everything that's important in life. And when I had my awakening, my house just blew up in this horrible mess. And I felt completely incompetent and stuff. And when your higher chakras are blown open and you're experiencing bliss states and stuff, you don't have stuff together. You're not balanced and you're not regulated. And we have to go through these periods of complete imbalance. And so understanding this and understanding that it's important to have things in order, and it's important to be careful how we speak to people. And if you're in a certain state and you really feel like something needs to be said, try to be in tune. We're not keeping anyone from doing shadow work or having the courage and the bravery to do what really needs to be done. But just realize that bliss state is not the ultimate state, that you're still going to have to come down and live your life and live things balanced out and keep things together and try to appear to be a responsible human being if we want to help other people. Because if we go completely too far off in woo-woo land, then we aren't on the level to be able to help people or give them the pointers on their level that they need to have or need to hear. So I hope this was helpful. Please leave me a comment. Please like this if you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear any questions you have. Thanks for watching. Bye.